This is an 100. High schools, none. But its youngsters are not forgotten. They get a better education than most Americans. Along with 800 boys and girls from Bartlett, Veleda, Cherryvale, Coffeyville, Parsons, and other towns in a 600-square-mile area, they are bused to Labette County Community High School at Altamont. This school meets most of the standards proposed by Dr. James B. Conant in his monumental study of our high schools. But 17,000 of 21,000 U.S. public schools do not.
Then, if I'm lucky enough, then work hard enough and everything, I'd like to be a rider.
We like a good head that shows characteristics for the breed.
To take on an étranger, you see.
The American high school, is it educational chaos? Dr. James B. Conant sought the answer. This is the National Education Association in Washington, D.C., where a distinguished audience heard Dr. Conant report the findings of his 2-year study of our high school. Dr. Conant is a renowned chemist, former president of Harvard University, recent ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany. This is one of his major conclusions.
In many states. For I early became convinced that a high school with a graduating class of much less than 100 cannot do a satisfactory job except at exorbitant expense. And I know that in many states there are many high schools which are much smaller than my specifications, and in some states a very large proportion of the boys and girls are going to high schools that are too small. On a national basis, this is of considerable importance. There are something like 21,000 high schools in the United States, and if my figures are correct, 4,000 of these, only 4,000 are of sufficient size. 17,000 are too small. And yet, in those 4,000 high schools are enrolled 2/3 of the high school students. Supposing you have a high school, shall we say, with only 40 in the graduating class, and then if you will follow my assumption that not more than a quarter of the students in a high school are able to study effectively and rewardingly trigonometry and foreign languages and physics, you'll see that you'll have classes of not more than 10 students in these subjects. Now, to provide adequate first-rate instruction in these subjects with good teachers means that you've got to spend a lot of money for relatively few students. But on the other hand, to staff the 4,000 high schools is by no means a hopeless undertaking. And if the states could only get forward more rapidly with district reorganization, it might well be that much more than 2/3 of our high school students would be in schools of sufficient size, and this to some extent would then help the critical teacher shortage. However, there's another argument I sometimes found equally effective with the students and with citizens too, and that is it's very difficult to field a good football team from a small high school.
This is a product of school district reorganization. The Labette County Community High School. It is as big as 15 typical Kansas schools combined. Graduates of Labette's commercial department hold office jobs in every part of the United States. Labette's fully equipped print shop turns out skilled craftsmen. This automatic press makes 3,000 impressions an hour. The lathes, milling machines, and drill presses in the machine shop work full blast. The village blacksmith may be gone, but his art lives on in the heat treatment, shaping, and bending of metals. But Kansas is primarily an agricultural state. Its mechanized farms require a variety of skills for the care of equipment. And Labette students are taught their animal husbandry on a working farm near the campus.
We like a ewe that has a thick, deep, full leg of lamb. She's a short-necked ewe that blends well into her body. She's a good-headed ewe, showing a lot of characteristics, breed characteristics for the breed. We look for the same thing with the exception of the qualities in the head.
Dr. Conant suggests that all students be required to take a course in physical science or biology. Rural schools often lack scientific equipment, but Labette has a microscope for every 2 students, well-trained teachers, and well-equipped laboratories. And what about books? How many rural schools have adequate libraries, their shelves crowded with thousands of books to stretch a youngster's horizons? Labette's library is big, comfortable, and well-stocked.
Class, one of the important uses of the slide rule is in the field of engineering.
Only 1 in 8 U.S. high school students has the opportunity to study advanced mathematics.
The airplane is 153 feet per second. Okay?
This is a Labette trigonometry class, calculating the lift of an airplane wing.
Pardon?
15,900 pounds of lift.
That's a close approximation.
Consolidation has enriched Labette County youngsters with more than values in mathematics, biology, and the ability to earn a living. 300 take music courses. Over 75 study piano. Symphony Orchestra played in this new auditorium, which seats 2,000 and has become one of Kansas' cultural centers. Labette has all this and a field house, too. What do all these facilities cost? The field house, the auditorium, the library, the advanced academic courses, and the vocational programs. Labette is supported by one of the lowest tax levies in the Midwest. $5.90 per $1,000 assessed valuation. Consolidation means that 15,000 families instead of a handful are paying the bill. It's a long jump from the green fields of Labette County, Kansas, to the thriving port of Oakland, California. Oakland is a city of 400,000, supporting a wide variety of industries. 1,900 of its youngsters attend Oakland Technical High School. Unlike the Kansas boys and girls, they come from widely differing economic and social backgrounds. Like the Kansans, they have educational advantages denied to many Americans. Oakland requires a versatile labor supply, and vocational courses at Oakland Tech try to meet that need. Dr. Conant believes that these subjects play an important role in the comprehensive American high school.
There's a false antithesis sometimes made by some people between vocational work and academic work. This is, of course, not a correct antithesis. For all the students in the kind of school I'm talking about will spending half their time on academic work and half their time on elective programs. And for some students, the elective program, I think, should be a meaningful course of vocational work, which will develop a skill immediately marketable when this student graduates from high school. I found the students that had elected the courses I'm talking about had an attitude toward these studies which was that of a committed student. They knew why they were in the school. They were interested in these courses. And this interest carried over to their academic work, the general education.
Dr. Conant believes there should be one full-time guidance counselor for every 250 students. The national ratio is now 1 for every 750. Keeping track of the talents and aspirations of 1,900 boys and girls at Oakland Tech is a big job. This is Pete Stapello, a junior, with his guidance counselor, Daniel Kraft.
Pete, you remember when you came here last fall, why we had quite a time before we discovered that you were capable of one of these accelerated courses, which are honor courses. But I noticed on the list from the gym that you're going to be out for football next year. And it looks pretty rough for you to be able to handle 3 of these honors courses plus playing football.
I really didn't think about it so seriously because I didn't know what honor courses they'd have next year. But if there's 3, I don't know about football. I guess there'll have to be something I'll have to give up. And if I do decide to go out for football, say, start with 3 and see how I could handle it, or...
You would try that, but chances are that unless you're really a tremendously exceptional person, it'd be almost impossible for you to do all 4 things.
I don't know. I know usually I can work pretty good under pressure. Maybe that's what I need to sort of snap me out of it. Maybe I could handle it. I don't know. I'd like to try if I could.
I'm willing for you to try, but I want you to have in mind, though, that you might find yourself in a bind. You're on the team, maybe the coach is counting on you, and then you drop out to take one of these courses. You may leave the school high and dry while you're helping yourself, and then you feel this conflict of loyalty to yourself or to the school, and see how the situation could develop.
Yeah, well, I guess I'd have to talk it over with my parents, but I think that if I did come to the sort of decision, if anything, I'd probably drop football if I had to.
Sally, you're a senior now and almost ready to graduate. Do you have any plans for your future?
Yes, I have. I plan to go to the University of California next year, and I want to major in English. Then, if things work out right, I do want to write very much.
What sort of a writer and why this sort of decision?
Well, I want to be a fiction writer. I'm not sure what type of fiction, whether short story or novel. Well, for quite a while, but very vaguely. I think that creative writing with you, and especially the discussions that I've had with you, and the encouragement that I've gotten from you certainly helped an awful lot. But it really meant something to me. I think a couple of times people have said something about, well, your writing is pretty good or something, but it was a proof that are you going to be a writer? That encouraged me very much to have someone else think of me that I have possibilities of being a writer, because I don't think people, I think you're worried about the first person that did say anything like that.
Academic age, over 60,000 seniors are in high schools which offer neither physics nor chemistry. Dr. Conant proposes that the top 15 to 20% of high school students take 3 years of science.
Quartz is something we've seen has importance in calculating orbits of satellites and such new developments as these. Now today, before we consider how this will apply to atomic particles and other important things in physics, we're going to make some actual measurements of centripetal force. We'll need 3 people to help with this. The apparatus is already familiar to you. Well, would you come up, please, and take some time?
Oakland Tech is one of the high schools that has adopted a new physics course developed at MIT, designed to challenge capable students, girls as well as boys. Physics is vital to our world, but so is the ability to get along with the people of that world. Only 1 in 7 U.S. high school students studies a modern foreign language.
The study of foreign languages, which I found in many a high school, alas, was in a most unsatisfactory state. I found even the able students studying 2 years of 2 different foreign languages. Well, to my mind, they might just as well have been playing basketball. There's very little residue left from 2 years of a foreign language, and very little from 2 years of 2 different foreign languages. Therefore, I think that an academic program for the academically talented should, as I said earlier, include 4 years of 1 foreign language.
Oakland Tech has 4-year courses in French, Latin, and Spanish. This is a conversation in 4th-year French.
À gauche, c'est la rive gauche. C'est loin d'ici. Prenez un taxi.
Mais non, je juste préférerais manger sur le pavé, respirer l'air donné, jouir de Paris. Et après, m'arrêter, prendre le thé dans un salon de des Invalides.
Ah, c'est très américain.
But what about our own national problems?
I've been much impressed in some schools with the effectiveness of the 12th grade course, The Problems of American Democracy. As I've seen some of these courses given, a class will be a cross-section of the entire school. It will have students in it from the vocational courses and from the advanced academic courses. And this course will be run in such a way that you have a give and take between the various students, a real discussion of some of the present problems of our society. Many problems are discussed which might be of a controversial nature, but I feel this problem course and the problems of American democracy one of the effective ways in which the widely comprehensive high schools can prepare all its students for citizenship in our society.
Well, personally, I'm for recognizing Red China because I realize that by not recognizing the country, we're cutting ourselves off to communication. We can't send people in, and we can't put our point over to the Chinese very well. But
4 members of Oakland Tech's class in U.S. problems debate the recognition of Red China.
Communicate with each other, but I think this is offset by the problem that we would have in recognizing Red China. It wouldn't be just a psychological victory for them. As far as the other countries are concerned, it would be an actual victory as well. For one thing, they would become one of the Big Five, and they would be in the Security Council of the United Nations. So isn't China already part of the Big Five? I mean, you just can't ignore a big country like that. 600 million people. They seem to be doing a pretty good job of it.
I'm basically in favor of changing our recognizing Red China. It seems that China long ago was a small power at one time, but today it's grown into something that you can't help but recognize. It is the force in Asia, and we should change our policy to recognize it.
Well, we know that if we recognize them, it doesn't necessarily mean that we approve of them. But there's an awful lot of countries in Asia that don't know that. And if we recognize them, they'll take this to mean that we're approving of their government.
Oh, you can. I don't think there's any country in Europe that knows thinks the United States approves of the Soviet Union, the form of government, but they know they recognize them. Just that here we haven't been recognizing them for so long. We certainly changed our policy. We're giving in.
Well, there are two main problems which would come up in recognizing Red China. One of them is the psychological effect, which we've already mentioned, that it would have on some of the pro-Western Asian countries. And the other one, which nobody has mentioned so far, is that the communist Chinese would then it would be much easier for Russia to use the communist Chinese as sort of their spokesman. For example, Mayer himself said that communist China is the only country that can afford a war because they have so many people. When you consider they have 600 million people, we have, I think, some 180 million, and they have 600 million, and their problem is also growing population. I mean, it might be kind of convenient for them to have a war.
It would be convenient for anyone.
Of course, starting a war might be one way of making us recognize them.
Well, that didn't work in Korea, did it? That was direct aggression there, and I thought some say it was an attempt to get recognition. It just didn't work.
It doesn't work. As a matter of fact, the war may still be going on for all the official circles know about it.
Aggression in Korea is also another factor that we inhibit our recognizing international treaty laws because of their participation in the war. Red China is standing against that, of course. Well, in every war, you lose a great deal on both sides. But after that war, there's always treaties signed and two countries recognize one another. It was the same in the Second World War. There was a great many people killed on both sides. But you still sign a treaty after it, and you're at peace with them.
I was also interested in seeing in some schools the way they have...
Much of Dr. Conant's report is focused on the superior students.
One side you might speak of the very highly gifted students, perhaps 2 or 3% of the population. These students, to my mind, might well be anticipating some of their college work by taking in the 12th grade, college mathematics, college English, college history, or perhaps college science, freshman college science.
Gifted Oakland Tech seniors take freshman college courses at nearby Oakland City Junior College. 4 are enrolled in chemistry.
My name is Jim Berg, and I'm a senior at Oakland Technical High School. At the moment, I'm taking a freshman course in Chemistry 1A at Oakland Junior College. I might say that this course has been very valuable to me, not only in regard to my learning more in a subject that I enjoy, but I feel that it has been a great deal in preparing me for college. One of the things that really impresses me about taking this college freshman course in chemistry is the fact that I'm able to go ahead on my own to do what I think I'm capable of, rather than in high school. You are usually held back by the slowest people in the class. Maybe out of an hour of class time, half of that time will actually be worthwhile.
My name is Mr. Zoni, and I'm a senior at Oakland Tech High, and I'm taking this chemistry course here at Oakland City College. The thing that really impresses me most about a college course, I guess, is the fact that in college the students are left on their own. The attitude seems to be that if you want to make a success at what you're doing, that's fine, it's up to you. If you don't, that's also up to you. Provides a great contrast to the way things are run in high school. You constantly have a teacher at your shoulder holding the possibility of a bad grade over your head and saying, come on now, you can do better, and be a success at all times.
Dr. Conant visited 40 high schools in 18 states. Here are his views on the courses our high schools should require of all students.
In regard to the first function, providing a general education for all the students, irrespective of their interests and their academic talent, I thought that the school would be satisfactory if it required of all the students 4 years of English, with at least half the time, approximately half the time, spent on English composition. 3 or 4 years of social studies, 2 of which should be concerned with history, 1 of which would be American history, and at least 1 year of mathematics and 1 year of science.
He proposes a toughened program for the academically talented.
Something like 15% of the high school population on a national basis, I believe, have disability. If properly motivated, they can study satisfactorily a wide academic program. And I think that this program should include, in addition to the English and the social studies I've spoken of, 4 years of mathematics, 3 years of science, and 4 years of 1 foreign language. This wide program, if you counted it up, amounts to 18 courses with homework in 4 years. And this will require something like 15 to 20 hours of homework each week on the part of the students who elect this program. The other end of the spectrum of ability, so to speak, you find the very slow readers. Some 10 or 15% of the students in many of these schools were reading at 4 or 5 grades below the grade which they were attending. In the 9th grade, children who are reading at the 4th or 5th grade level. These very slow readers should be given, I think, a special kind of teacher. They should be handled in a special way. Well, I found schools that were taking special pains with the very slow reader who needs special attention and the highly gifted who can anticipate some of the college work. This, I think, sums up my findings and my conclusion. I'm convinced that the widely comprehensive high schools, essentially all of them, can be made satisfactory without too great difficulty or too great expense. And therefore, I conclude that no radical change is required in the basic pattern of American public education.
Speaking from Washington, D.C., Dr. William G. Carr, Executive Secretary of the National Education Association.
The National Education Association is really very happy to have the opportunity to present Dr. Conant's opinions about our secondary schools to the American people. We are sure that a careful consideration of such observations as these will help our country to improve the schools which serve all the children of all the people. In the second place, we're glad and grateful to Dr. Conant that he reached his conclusions about our schools only after he had visited the schools and studied them at first hand over a fairly long period of time. He did not announce his conclusions on the basis of some single case or some scattered bit of evidence. We wish there were more critics of our schools like that. In these days, there has been some clamor that we in America should copy or imitate the schools of Europe. Let us remember that in America, 70% of the boys and girls around 17 years of age are enrolled in the kinds of schools Dr. Conant has been talking about. In Europe, more than 70% of the children have left school and denied education before they are 14 years of age. I do not think we want to copy the European educational system. I think we can preserve the best in our democratic heritage and yet provide better education not only for the gifted, but for the average and the less than gifted in our total population.